Watching for a possible setup here on futures, you'll see it's had kind of a nice little run up here on a 5 minute chart right near that 64.50-ish level. Kind of has a rising wedgish pattern, so I want to be careful here right at that apex of that 64.50. But if the 5 minute can hold and break that 64.50 off this 9 EMA and a 5 minute, I might take an entry to see if it can break above that high a day right around that 64.51-ish level. Price at all-time highs so far, I think, is around 64.68-ish or so. So, if it can break and hold at 64.50, it still has some room to potentially go up. So it kind of broke this head and shoulders pattern earlier. So if it gets that pullback to that 9 EMA in a 5 minute and it can hold and get above that 64.50-ish level, I might look to take another trade. At the moment, as you can see, price is rejecting at that 64.50-ish level. So I'm going to wait and see what happens. But, if it can hold that 5 minute 9 EMA and get above 64.50, I might look to take a trade. So I'm watching this 5 minute setup here. It is holding off that 9 EMA right below 64.50. Another 15 seconds for the new 5 minute candle to form. So now I'm watching here to see if we have a possible 1 minute breakout formation forming right around that 64.50, 51-ish level. So I might take an entry if price can break above that 64.51-ish level. It's pulling back a little bit at the moment. I want to see if it's going to pull back to that 9 EMA in a 1 minute. So it's kind of pulling back now, dropping back down on the 500 tick. So we'll see if it holds and gets some separation on that 920 crossover on a 1 minute. If so, it might have some room to move up if it can break that high a day right around that 64.51-ish level. So I'm watching that 50-ish level closely, watching the setup on the 1 minute and seeing if it can hold its highs and move up. So it's kind of bouncing right off that 9 EMA on a 1 minute. Another 15 seconds on this 1 minute candle. And again, watching to see if you can get over that 50-ish, but ideally that 51 level resistance of high of day. Here it goes. Let's see, watching that 64.50-ish level. I took an
Order filled.
entry. I may have jumped the gun on that one. Right at that 64.50-ish level, it's smacking back down. Bought it right at resistance. Not sure I should have did that. So watching this last 30 seconds, want to see it hold its highs. So I got it that 64, that half a tick there, that 64.50-ish level. So I jumped a little bit of the gun there on that, but I'm going to watch and see if this candle, this 1 minute candle, will ideally hold its highs and break above that 64.50-ish, and then ideally 51. So not too bad right now. It's holding its highs. There it goes. Now I want to see if it can go and get above that 51-ish level, but it's struggling at the moment. Kind of jumped the gun on the entry. So I'm going to use this 50 tick, 64.50, or the 50-ish level right here, this 9 EMA 500 tick as a stop. So if it closes below that 9 EMA on a 500 tick, half a candlestick or more, then I'll get out. Right now it's bouncing off of it. So I'm going to use this as a guide. Another 30 seconds or so in this 1 minute. So I want to see it hold this area and continue up. Watching this 1 minute candle close as well. So I'm watching this 1 minute and the tick as well. So I kind of jumped the gun, got in a little bit earlier than I wanted, but I'm using a tight stop, watching these 1 minute candle formations and seeing if there's going to be a setup here. There it goes, watching that 64, that 51 level. There it goes. Now I'm watching to see if it can hold that 51 high of day, and if so, see if it can move up and continue. So I'm going to watch this 500 ticks and then these 1 minute candles, see if if it creates new 1 minute highs. But I'm going to use that 64.50-ish level as a stop. Any close below that would be my stop level. So it's retesting back down, which is that kind of that high a day, previous high a day. So that 64.50 as a stop below here. And then ideally, if it can get above that 64.51-ish level on a 1 minute and keep continuing up, watching this 5-minute candle close. So ideally, I want to see that 5-minute candle hold its highs. Right now it's struggling, which could end up forming a double top. So watching this 50 level as a stop. Right now it's back, smacking right back down to it. Watching this 1-minute candle close. Now I'm not liking it,
Order
so
filled.
I'm getting out. All right, so I got out on that because it closed, that 500 tick closed below that 64.50. I just don't want to risk it right now. And that 5 minutes showing a possible double top formation. Again, it could hold and continue up. We'll let this last formation form and see what happened. So I did sell at the bottom. It did turn into a little bit of a hammer on a 500 tick, but let's watch and see what happens here. If it gets it back above, could have waited right to the last 5-minute candle formation, but let's just see how this plays out here for another 20 seconds or so and see what happens. So you'll see it kind of jumped the gun a little bit earlier on this trade, stayed through it. It did go up a little bit to that 64, the 51, 64, 51, 50. Kind of had a shooting star, came back down a little bit. Showed some weakness on this 1 minute. That's why I kind of got out. And you can see on the 5-minute, possible doji with 2 seconds left. So let's just watch and see how this one plays out. Okay, new 1-minute candle on a 5-minute setup. Kind of a gravestone doji-ish here. So it is kind of failing at the moment. So on that trade, was I up 162? So I lost about 70 bucks or so. Let me see, 162.50 minus 97.10. So about a $65 loss on that trade. Not bad. I like to keep my losses kind of small, and today's been a roller coaster kind of day with some just getting used to the Trade of 8 platform. So I'm okay with taking that little bit of a loss. I let it kind of go back down to that area. Like I said, that 64.50. Got out. Let's see what it's going to do right now here. New 1-minute candle forming. Might look at another possible re-entry if it can get above that 61.40, 50-ish, 1-ish level. But you can see there's a head, left shoulder, and right shoulder. So it's kind of a head and shoulders on the tick chart here. And you can possibly kind of zoom in here on this 1 minute. Kind of the same thing here if you look down over here. There we go. That's why I couldn't see the chart. See, that was weird. Another part with the charts. Now I can see it much clearer. Head, left shoulder, right shoulder. But it could also be an inverse head and shoulders. That's why you can see that 64.50-ish level is very, very important. So, okay, I'm fine. Took a small little loss on this one, but so yeah, it was about $65 loss on this trade.